Cinéfilos Transeúntes, un podcast de Pablo Rodríguez y Ezequiel Vigo.
How you doing, man?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Here we are, coming at you from another place across
Another
the world.
undisclosed location.
Is everything in order? Have we got all the equipment running?
Yeah, I think so. Let me check just before we
This is a bit of a different scenario from the one we're usually in, but you know, we're not going to sacrifice good content for you guys.
Yeah, we're starting to put the roaming in the Cinephiles.
This is all the traveling that we had to do to meet Michael. We're just coming back from that, actually.
Yeah. He couldn't make it this
Leaving
week.
him in his home country, wherever the hell that is.
Well, just because we're roaming doesn't mean we're gonna lack in content.
Yeah.
And in context as well.
And plus, in this episode, for all you ADHD viewers, you get to see us on a little swingy thing, constant movement. It's going to be a lot easier for you to pay attention to us.
Yeah, of course.
So
it's not distracting at all.
Episode 5. One thing I will say, so far, episode 5 has had the best reviews of any episode,
Has
which,
it?
after watching it, doesn't really surprise me, because I know how the people be.
Yeah, they're hyped. No, I
and
think
the people like the action. You know,
Yeah.
they like the
big moments.
killing, the explosions. We have a very Michael Bay kind of audience going on for this show. Well, very global audience, and at the end of the
but
day,
I think also last episodes were hard and emotionally challenging, but this one we finally got rewarding endings. You know, we got more satisfying deaths in a way and more satisfying events happening in the plot because
man, deaths really shouldn't be satisfying.
well, but
there are a little bit.
The
I get what you're
character-
saying.
the character that we were ranting about on the last episode finally meets her end in a good way.
Yeah, but honestly, it's not that the character. We talked about this, but the character wasn't evil in a good way, as in oh, we can't wait for her to die. She was just a bad character. I just wanted her gone because she was ruining the quality of the show.
She probably was one of the worst characters we've met so far in the show in terms of depth of the character.
We kind of figured out, at least this episode, they shed some light on why she's the leader instead of just, some random.
Soldier.
Yeah.
The Navy
Because,
SEAL.
because of her brother, which makes sense. It's the legacy of her brother. And at the end of the day, you will see us look very wary throughout this episode because my phone, which is recording us, is very far away, and there's a lot of people walking by. And although we're in a pretty safe place, but you can never be too sure. And I was dumb enough to not get insurance on my phone, so
No, but
if I have to chase someone on my flip-flops, that will just make for extra good content. I
so
suppose.
last episode we ended with the previous one, sorry, we ended with Ellie and Joel being held captive by these two new characters that we hadn't met so far. They're
Indeed.
Sam and Henry. And on the next episode we reduce the tension in the beginning, so we get a bit of background on those characters rather than going straight to the action, which I think is
Yeah.
good because I really like this character. I really like Henry.
They're doing really good with the flashbacks. Henry, surprisingly, out of all the characters, he's not as as vanilla as some of the other characters. He's not as easy of a guy to figure out. Mostly because he's got that whole informant thing going on, and we saw a little bit of that tension when he was talking with Joel, and Joel gave him a bit of back and forth of, I don't really want to work with a rat and stuff like that, because you can tell that Joel was in his QZ on the other side of the informants instead. But then we find out that it's not really all black and white. It's not either the revolution or the government. It's not either the good guys or the bad guys.
Yeah, because this guy Henry,
he can be an informant, but for the right reasons.
he refuses to kill as well, which is, I think, he's the Batman of this universe, I guess, but he refuses to kill in this universe, so I guess
Well,
he has some morals.
He doesn't really refuse to kill.
He
I'd
doesn't
say.
refuse to, he tries to avoid it.
He hasn't really killed. Well, I think he does. He doesn't want to kill anyone, mostly because he hasn't killed anyone, and that's always going to be a bit of a shock. But the main reason is that he's also pretty inept, and that's the reason why they also come together with Joel. because he sees him all gung ho, fighting these guys off and stuff. He's like, wow, I could use a guy like that on my team
Yeah.
to get out of the city.
I really like how they made the context and backstory of these two new characters, both Henry and his deaf. Is her brother, right?
Yeah, they're brothers. It's interesting. I always thought that was interesting in the game as well. That from the beginning they're implying, father and son, for obvious reasons. But they're
they're actually brothers. Yeah.
They're brothers, which also makes it more tragic in my opinion, because their parents are gone, and that Sam has probably already been through stuff, like quite a lot of stuff. So that this is just. Plus, it's all too cliche, like father and son, father and daughter.
No, yeah.
Brother and like little brother is more of like
little deaf brother.
It's more like I owe everything to I owe it to my parents and I owe it to my family that's gone to take care of Sam.
But I was saying that I really liked how they made all the context and backstory transition so smoothly into how they actually meet Ellie and Joel, like how they see them, like when they run into the corner in the previous chapter.
Yeah, they made it have a lot of continuity, which is something that they do really good in this show. And I really liked the first interaction. For me, Joel was great in that interaction. He's like, "Are we cool?" He's like, "Yeah, everything is great." In the least trustworthy way imaginable.
Yeah.
Like a man that just wants to, whip out the gun and shoot.
Well,
that
if
kid
you
in the face.
if you wake up and you have like a toddler in front of you with like a gun,
slapping that toddler.
Yeah.
Nah, but the thing is, it also shows us a side of pre-Ellie and pre-Last of Us Joel, because you can tell that he holds no animosity and no trust for the people that he doesn't know, right? And it almost implies that if Ellie wasn't there and he was still the same man he was at the beginning of the show,
he would have killed her.
He would have killed that kid. And
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe not. Maybe he would have surprised us. But at least that's the vibe that they're trying to give us.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you on that. And so what happens is that after all this backstory, which is, I think it's like the first 15 minutes of the chapter, we get to the point in which we say, okay, so what's gonna happen? And they sort of like do a pact in which this guy, Henry, is gonna help them get away from the city because he knows a secret passage or something like that. But Joel's gonna provide the muscle. He's gonna be the guy that's gonna shoot anyone or an infected one if it's...
It's a stressful plan as well, because you really don't know how many people are in this tunnel, or like how many infected are in this tunnel.
Yeah.
And I love the suspense that they created throughout the whole episode of where the hell are all the infected.
But I really liked also, it was a mental note I made of this episode. That little moment they get before all the action, which we will get to, which is, I think, the best part of the episode, obviously. But those little moments in the little bunker they find, in which Ellie and Sam are playing together. They're playing football, they're playing cards. They find new comics, and they're so excited to find new comics.
In the show, it's in the game, it's a bit different. Like that part is actually one of the saddest parts in the show, because you start collecting. I'm trying to find position here. It's kind of hard because in the game you start finding clues and notes, and you start figuring out that these people came down at the beginning, and that they started they started trying to survive. They only had like a couple of guys. They were trying to do their best, and throughout the notes you start to figure out what really happened to them, because the bunker you don't really explore as much in the show, but in the game you explore the different rooms on the bunker, and each room
has their own backstory,
something new about the kids, what they did in that room, what evolved, what happened, and then eventually you find out, I believe in the game, if I'm not wrong, I mean I played it a while ago, that one of the soldiers mercy killed a bunch of the kids because
they got infected.
Because they were trapped. Because they were trapped. There was hordes of infected, and they were trapped, and they weren't going to be able to go away. Apparently, there was signs that they were going to starve, that they were locked in this place.
Yeah, it's either they either starve to death or become infected. So
pretty much
business call, I think. Well, maybe I'm a bit of a psychopath, but I think that was obviously not explored in that depth in the show, but it was implied a bit of the story of what happened.
Yeah,
but
I guess they don't have time to go into. Again, in the game, like for each of these episodes, you have hours and hours of in-game exploration.
And for me,
you don't have enough time to do the same thing inside the show.
But for me, it was like I saw all of that as past events, so I maybe only like focused on like the emotional positive things, like them actually like finding toys and like just the kids having like kids being kids, because they have 2 or 3 moments like that, or interaction, even in which Henry says, I'm glad we're together because Sam has been alone for such a long time. And you can tell
these show creators know what they're doing, like showing us they're showing us, well, a couple of things before the tragic ending, which we'll get into in a minute. They show us a lot of things. They show us, the kids playing and being kids, and they also show Joel and Henry like connecting, just like pals. You haven't really seen Joel have a pal aside from Bill, which isn't really much of a pal.
Yeah, Bill.
Bill's just a guy who'll have your back and you'll have his back.
Yeah, Bill is that type of friendship that doesn't fall under the traditional friendship.
He's got your back, and that he can count on you as well. But you're not gonna sit with him and have a beer and talk shop,
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, man, they show us. I think one of the messages of this episode is that these guys really can't catch a break, man.
No,
whenever
not at
they
all.
think they're meeting people, whenever they think they're gonna get like somewhat comfortable, they don't. It gets snatched right out from them. And I like Ellie's resilient moment at the end. But let's move around a little bit back into the episode. So one of the things that I was that obviously everyone was very excited about was the bloater. So the bloater, we've been waiting for him because now we can say it, but it was meant to appear during Bill's area, and it was like a boss fight. But now he just pops out from the ground. And to be fair, I mean, that scene is chaotic in itself. The jeeps are coming, they're defending. Joel has that scene with the sniper, which I liked, very humane, like, please don't make me do this. And they drift away.
Deus Ex Machina, how these zombies, arrive in the best moment, in a way.
I like how they're telling you what's going to happen. They're telling you what's going to happen, but it's not immediate. Like, you see the truck explodes, and then you see their faces, and then you see the truck slowly sink, and then you start to hear the sounds, and you're like, what the hell's going to happen?
Yeah,
and before you can, like, put two and two together, boom, hellfire. Like, they just break out from under the ground.
And we had seen this on the 4th episode, a bit of foreshadowing with the rambling floor. And I liked how on the tunnel, they didn't imply, but they made us think that we would find infected, but we never find them. And then the tension sort of breaks
They're
up.
just building up the tension. I mean,
and you lose that tension because then the tension's on the military. When the military force is about to catch on them, Fedra. No, it's not Fedra.
No, it's not Fedra.
Yeah,
it's
sorry, it's the revolutionaries.
That it's called, in the game, it's called like Wolf something Army or some
shit.
I don't even
whatever
know.
faction it is. But I like how we
catch up to them with the floodlights and the fucking jeeps.
Our focus is on them and how they're gonna get out of this situation, and we have the whole sequence with the sniper, which I like. It's cool. It sets up the tempo as well. It gets us moving in action.
I think a lot of people, probably one of their favorite parts of the episode was the Joel action with the sniper.
Oh yeah,
because
sure.
He was coming in clutch.
For sure,
he was
man.
Popping off fools.
He was back in the Mandalorian suit. He was back in the Mandalorian suit, Pedro Pascal.
People that hunt as well. Like I know because I watched this with my dad, and he was very, very happy about this. He was watching it and he was like, "Oh, that's got to be a 308. The way he's cocking it back and popping. This guy can't miss." And for people that are just into shows, they probably don't appreciate how hard it is to be accurate with this rifle over and over again. And we see just how accurate he is towards the end when he pops a clicker right beside Ellie. Like, perhaps as far as I am to you, he pops a clicker. And he's maybe, 100 feet away, something like that?
Yeah, something like that.
So,
with all the chaos as well around it. So
that scene was good. It was sad to see the little baby infected, because that was clearly from the underground bunker. I think that's what they were implying.
Well, there you go. There you tied it together with the video game.
And also, I think one thing is that I quite liked is that in the previous episode when they were talking, this fucking hat is getting on my nerves. In the previous episode when they were talking about the floor sinking, and these guys were like, let's just find Henry and deal with this later. And when they have that argument about priorities, like, he shouldn't be your 7th priority. And this whole time, they're ignoring what should be their real priorities only for revenge, which is, the opposite of what a leader should do. And they get punished for that. They get, like, the story punishes them for that. Instead of focusing on the priority at hand, which is the fucking rows and hordes of infested underground, they're focusing on chasing down one guy who did a pretty, lame tip, and it comes back to them. Her character's not a particularly noble one, and that's what they're showing us.
Yeah, that's what I like, though.
That she's driven for her brother, but she's driven in a dark way. You know, they're showing us
her motivations are not that good.
they're showing us that perhaps she was the kind of person that the best thing about her was her brother. Her brother was probably the complete polar opposite, and without her brother, she was that archaic character that gives in to the darker.
No, but even with I think it's implied that even with her brother, already at the time the brother was the good one, and she was always like either on the backs or on the not on the front.
Yeah, but
plane.
she didn't have the power to do anything. Like her brother kept her in check because her
yeah.
brother was the one that did things. But then, what she was doing also resonated with a lot of people because it's I guess one of the ongoing messages of the show is that there's no place for nobility in the math of a apocalyptic
No,
event.
but I have to disagree with you on that.
The noble characters are all getting picked off. And the only characters that we're seeing thriving and moving forward, aside from Ellie and her golden protector, are in a sense anti-heroes.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. I think it's
and her brother sounded like very much, a good, like
person,
a goody-goody,
but
noble person.
That's what I mean. I think in this world there's no fairness in terms of like, the good people maybe die, and some bad things happen to good people, whatever. But I think there's justice in this world. There's not fairness, but sometimes there's moments of justice. We see this woman be punished because her intentions are not good. You said it, she's seeking for revenge, not her intentions and motives are not like good in the canonical way, no? They're tainted with some dark these necessities and desires. So I think that's good because it also builds onto the characters and the anti-hero concept that you said. Like Ellie and Joel, they're meant to be good, but
the thing is, not necessarily. Like it's a spectrum again. Like Joel is willing to do things that in terms of morally would be seen as wrong.
No,
but
of
in
course.
terms of purpose,
but that's what keeps
good.
them alive, though. That's my point exactly. That's what keeps them alive.
But also from her, like this in the spectrum of good and evil, I think she had very little good in her. I think the good in her that she had was a love for her family, for her brother. I think everything else, and you can see in the way she abuses her power, you can see in the way she ignores priorities, and you can see in the way she bosses people around. She was a mean person. She was a person that wanted to exploit authority. She was a person that wanted to take advantage of others, and she was a person that wanted to be controlling and menacing. She's using the whole brother thing as an excuse to really unleash her true nature. Like obviously, the loss of a brother also
she's
means
like the
loss of morality.
polar opposite, both in terms of leadership and in authority to Joel, because.
Yeah, but Joel's not much of a leader. Like he takes a leadership position.
No, but
at times,
authority. What about authority?
He's the kind of guy that stays away from leadership. He takes control, but
no,
he doesn't
but
like leading.
that's
That's the
why
main
I say
thing.
that's why I say they're opposites, because he steps up to leadership when it is required and when he thinks he must do it. He doesn't. He's actually like shunning away
I don't
from
necessarily it's leadership. It's just him trying to survive, and he does whatever he thinks is best. And because at the end of the day, when shit hits the fan, you're gonna listen to the guy that sounds like he knows what he's doing the most. And Joel always sounds like he knows what he's doing. Also, because he's got a lot of initiative and he's moving around. But throughout the game as well, we'll see that Joel is presented many times with the opportunity for leadership, and he almost always rejects it because he doesn't want to.
No, yeah, he doesn't want any ties
to be an
anyone.
authoritative figure. He just wants to keep himself alive. He wants to do some good. He wants to help others, and it's at the end of the day, it breaks your heart to see the way he's to see the way he feels for Ellie. Every time one of these things happen, I feel like Joel isn't as affected himself as he is for Ellie having to experience that.
Yeah, definitely.
And now he's realized just how resilient Ellie is, because I think it's sad for him to see that. It's sad for him to see someone who's finally become stone cold on the outside, or as much as you can, being a child and all. And we're going to see a lot more of the badass Ellie that we get to know in the further games and throughout the story. And
but
I'm
it's
excited
cool.
for
It's
where
cool
the
that
story's
the
headed
little
now
sequence with the bloater is amazing. But I also liked from those scenes when she runs into the car.
Yeah.
She sneaks in through the window, and then all of a sudden we get the infected kid doing all the
Ellie's smart. It's a thing that doesn't. I mean, for the second game we play as Ellie, like for quite a while, And we do a lot of things with Ellie in the game. Ellie's very smart. She's not just a burden to Joel. Like
No, not at all, not at all.
She saves them on many occasions. She's very resourceful, and she's
done it already in the show.
The what?
She's done it already in the show. Last episode, the episode 4, she saved him.
Yeah, and she'll keep doing that because she's just as
They're a team.
She's just as gritty and resourceful as him. It's just that she's a child, so obviously she needs to be protected a little bit more. But in terms of story arc, I loved the trajectory of Henry and Sam. Henry refused to go on living without Sam. Henry refused to give up on Sam, and you can see at the end frenetically when he picks up the gun at
His
the beginning
hero moment
to stop Joel from shooting Sam. And then he loses his mind. I assume he was trying to shoot Sam because it wouldn't make sense that he was trying to shoot Henry.
No, yeah. But
to shoot Ellie, I mean.
Yeah. I think that moment is heartbreaking. Obviously it is, but it's
they knew what they were doing. They knew that people would be sobbing at home like little kids. But it was a
I
good
also
moment.
think it's a good moment for Ellie because we just literally talked about how resilient and strong she is, but it shows that she's still a kid at times. She breaks down.
Yeah.
She's not as cold as an adult with like Joel with that perspective on just perspective.
But with Sam, she has to kind of take the role of an adult, and I think
she does.
This is character building for her to become more like Joel. And a key step for her to become more like Joel is losing someone under her protection. That's pretty much what makes
character development for Joel.
Yeah, and she has to be the adult for Sam. She's like, yeah, my blood is medicine, trying to make him feel good. I'll stay up with you. And, coming to the raw realization that you can't protect. You just, protecting people isn't entirely, up to you. Shit happens. And, yeah, I'm excited for what's coming. Good episode, good action, and,
And
here
they're
we
off.
are.
And they're off.
You guys can't complain, man. We're on the other side of the world providing some quality contents, and following episodes will be roaming a lot more. Anything more to add, Pablo?
No, that I think this podcast, we love to look at the big screen, but looking at the little screen, which is what we're doing in this series with The Last of Us, is also been such a good experience because I don't know how this is gonna rank by the time this show is done or even this season is done. I don't know how it's gonna rank in the all-time shows.
I think it'll do well, and you can recognize when a show's good. And this show's already done that enough to draw the masses to it, because I think first couple episodes not that many people watching it.
And it's more of the
by
hype.
this point most people are watching it, most people are talking about it, it's all over social media, and we're talking about it. Don't you guys forget that we were here first from day one. And with that being said, fellas, we'll be back next week to talk another one, and take care.